It's January 14th, and we're beginning today a course based on the book Awaken to Love by Dr. Laura Patryas. And we're beginning with the introduction today, and we're going to talk a little bit today about her introduction to the book, where she says to be human is to navigate paradoxical realities, simultaneously embracing contradictions where different truths coexist. And as we continue to read in the introduction and listen to it today, she describes a world in which new ideas can be scary and it can be hard to change our confirmation bias. She tells us, however, that being curious and courageous can help us to unlearn and to relearn. And she means that we have to relearn what we have forgotten, what we have dissociated away from, associated into fear, confusion, upsets, worries, chaos, complications of all different kinds that are dilemmas which our human mind cannot solve. And so we find ourselves disempowered, and we find ourselves having given our power over to something else, a price that we have paid, not being aware of the price that we have paid. We don't know, in fact, our way out of this dilemma. She quickly introduces, however, the idea that developing harmonious relationships, both on an individual and global scale, can be aided by embodied non-dual wisdom. And she says this is the next frontier of human evolution. She writes that the process of unlearning is an essential aspect of personal and spiritual growth. So in addition to the audiobook introduction, I'm doing my best to tie together all the exploration as it delves deeply into the intersections of Jungian wisdom, psychosynthesis, eternal family systems, and the expansive philosophies of nonduality. Here's the beginning of the book. I'll stop it occasionally to interject something and to ask if there are any questions or comments.
This is Audible.
Awaken to Love, Reclaiming Wholeness Through Embodied Nonduality with Jungian Wisdom, Psychosynthesis, and Internal Family Systems. Written by Laura Patryas, PhD. Narrated by Harper Thomas. Introduction. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. To be human is to navigate paradoxical realities simultaneously, embracing contradictions where different truths coexist. This multidimensional experience fuels our creativity and greatness. We are vulnerable yet indestructible, unique yet inseparable from the larger whole. However, modern life has disconnected us from community, tradition, nature, spirituality, our bodies, and emotions. Modern culture especially has lost touch with humanity's inherent goodness. This fertile ground of disconnection allows trauma to take root and proliferate, a major source of suffering. Yet trauma can also catalyze profound surrender and awakening, a wake-up call for letting go of the illusion of control and rediscovering our ever-present state of being. We are currently witnessing a convergence of three significant trends: a mental health crisis stemming from disconnection, a rise in spiritual awakenings, and increased dialogue between Western psychotherapy and Eastern wisdom traditions. Both somatic practices and the awareness of our fundamental interconnectedness, non-duality, offer crucial paths to healing from the cycle of trauma. However, authentic non-dual awareness requires both the vertical path of transcendence, awakening to our timeless self, and the horizontal path of individuation, embracing disowned parts to actualize our unique talents. Neglecting either leads to imbalance. True non-duality encompasses the seamless totality of our essential being and our unique individuality, allowing the formless, transcendent self to radiate through our illumined personality and manifest in the world. The seeds of global conflicts like war, poverty, exploitation, and environmental devastation are sown by our collective inability to embrace differences and engage in intelligent dialogue aimed at mutual understanding. Disharmony afflicts organizations and institutions at every level, even spiritual communities. Despite profound spiritual realizations, human relationships largely remain driven by trauma-fueled motivations and emotions. Developing harmonious relationships, both on an individual and global scale, with the aid of embodied non-dual wisdom, is the next frontier of human evolution. Relating consciously demands honoring both human engagement and transcendence as equally valid paths. Non-dual awareness allows us to enter incarnation more deliberately, bridging the gap between the worldly and the spiritual.
So non-dual awareness is something that we're going to explore throughout the book. And Laura is going to introduce a way of going about doing that. But today I want to make sure that we're understanding about what non-dual or non-duality really is. So I'm going to introduce that at the end of the introduction today, at the end of the audiobook introduction today. I'm going to introduce a part about this non-duality and what non-duality might mean to us, and a way to go about learning about what non-duality might mean to you as an individual. And that's very important, is that you can see for yourself that there is an aspect of yourself which you have never really been separated from, but which you are separated from in your everyday affairs in the world outside of yourself. The world outside of yourself, constantly reinforcing our separation and constantly making that real to us. So we forget very easily our innocence and our simplicity and our ability to see things from a non-dual perspective, from a perspective of we are all one.
Over the past 25 years, I have explored various fields, including psychology, yoga, Eastern spirituality, Western mystical tradition, and quantum physics, searching for insights into the convergence of immanence and transcendence. Synthesizing diverse concepts sparked the possibility of a unified framework that could elucidate human behavior, personality development, and the intricacies of trauma within the context of a loving universal consciousness. To paraphrase the words of the French mystic Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, we are not only human beings having a spiritual experience, we are also spiritual beings having a human experience. Both the earthly and the transcendent coexist within us.
And I'll just point out that in the collection of the replays, which is where this text will be, I'll be sending you if you're interested in the replays, that is, I'll be sending you the replay, and it will include hyperlinks, which will link to other web resources. For example, you may not know who Pierre Teilhard de Chardin is and what he has accomplished or had accomplished in his lifetime. And there's an introduction to him, and that's what that link will send you off to see what that's all about. And I've embedded those links into all of the chapters. In fact, the chapters include lots more links than the introduction does. The short introduction has very few. I have added supplements also to the replays as we go through the recording, as we go through the presentations. We'll see lots of supplements, and those supplements also will be included in the replay emails. So if you want to sign up for that, please go ahead and do so. You can see, in fact, how to go about doing that in the bottom of this email today.
Drawing from various scientific and spiritual sources, I offer a new perspective on non-duality. Rather than positioning it in opposition to multiplicity, I advocate a both-and approach that celebrates the coexistence of unity and diversity as mutually enriching. This integrated approach, which I call duality, recognizes our unique individuality while grounding us in an underlying universal oneness. In contrast to traditional therapeutic approaches that narrowly focus on individuals, couples, or families, disregarding the larger web of interconnections, I present a theory that recognizes the interconnectedness of all existence as an integrated whole. Rather than isolated entities, quantum theory suggests we are waves arising from and dissolving back into a unified field. Similarly, our distinct personalities reflect unique oscillations within an underlying ground of consciousness. By rooting psychology in this understanding of unity, we can progress toward greater harmony of our inner and outer worlds. In this book, I attempt to map out the unified reality glimpsed by mystics and now supported by modern science. I offer a way to integrate our understanding of small self, higher self, and the universal self. I extend an invitation for you to accompany me on this journey that is both universally relevant and intimately personal. As we travel this terrain, we will traverse my personal story as a spiritual aspirant and teacher, parent, research scientist, and creative explorer. I believe these facets of life, our relationships and creative expressions, can serve as catalysts for healing. My hope is that by sharing my perspective, one shaped by many diverse elements, it may enrich our mutual understanding of the interplay between apparent polarities. Through embodied exercises, contemplative inquiries, and creative imagery, we will peel back the layers of thought-constructed separation. With open curiosity, we will investigate direct experiences that reveal, beneath the surface waves of anxiety and conceptual division, an ocean of wise awareness, within and all around. The core of this book's exploration delves deeply into the rich intersection of Jungian wisdom, psychosynthesis, internal family systems, IFS, and the expansive philosophies of non-duality. These three therapeutic modalities share a focus on parts work within a broader spiritual framework. Parts work suggests that within each of us resides a family of sub-personalities, or parts, that develop to help us survive and thrive. Like characters in a play, these parts have their own distinct roles, emotions, and beliefs. As the founder of psychosynthesis noted, have you noticed that you behave differently in your office, at your home, in social relations, in solitude, in church, or as a member of a political party? This is because we have different eyes, depending on our relationships, environments, and contexts. We often manifest completely different and antagonistic characteristics in our various roles. We have the familiar example of the reserved introvert who transforms into a boisterous party animal on the weekends, or conversely, the life of the party who treasures quiet, alone time at home. The ruthless, cutthroat businesswoman who melts into a doting, indulgent mother with her kids, or the patient, relaxed preschool teacher who runs a tight ship at home. To demonstrate further, imagine you are facing a difficult decision, perhaps a choice between adventure or playing it safe. One voice inside leans into excitement and risk, while another advocates caution. These are two parts expressing their distinct views, often competing to be heard. Yet deep within each of us, beyond parts, resides a vibrant and creative core, our true self. Firmly rooted in the non-dual teachings of Vedantic scripture and Western psychology, this innermost essence of our being possesses a remarkable capacity to harmonize and synthesize the various elements that comprise our inner world. Before this integration occurs, it's as if we have an orchestra full of talented musicians who are used to performing solo roles and not collaborating smoothly together. Some of these soloists carry traumas and wounds that lead to discordance and suffering when they try to play together. However, when the wise conductor, the self, takes the lead, all the parts begin to work in concert, playing beautifully as one. Therapeutic integration allows the disjointed orchestra of our inner world to come together and make music in unison under the direction of self. Contemplative exercises, mindful movement and silence can help us experience sacred moments of insight and reveal self. In these self moments, we recognize self as the infinite web of potential from which we arise, the inseparable roots from which we grow, the common ground we share with others. Self moments allow us to connect deeply with ourselves and others.
Everybody's had self moments. We just maybe don't recognize it as what she's referring to it here as self moments. These are moments when, in fact, we feel completely comfortable, peaceful within, and we seem to have no worries. It has happened in your youth at some point and has probably happened since then also, where you just really were in the flow, in the moment, not really being distracted by anything and experiencing that reality of the flow in a way very peacefully, very sort of enlightened experience, which your body is a little lighter, your mind is a little easier, and you're more comfortable with yourself, and you're more comfortable, therefore, with life outside yourself as well, because it doesn't seem to be distracting or disruptive or difficult. Everybody's had moments like that, probably. I think they have. I hope they have. And if they haven't, this is something to look forward to then, because this is part of what the course is really bringing us to, is this awareness of acceptance of a system of thinking, of a system of understanding, of a system of working through problems, in which we find that the problems are not really of great interest to us. The solution really is. So self moments is something that we're going to learn a little bit more about, and we'll start out with that today, also learning a little bit more about that. But first, let's finish the introduction in the audiobook.
Essential to non-dual perspective, the modalities discussed in this book incorporate the concept of the self. The self has qualities reminiscent of both particle and wave in quantum physics. When we tune inward and connect to ourself, we may experience its particle nature, a consistent, courageous, and confident leader that remains unaffected by the turbulence of our parts and can guide them effortlessly. Yet the self also has a wave-like quality that permeates throughout the entire system of parts. Like a wave, it saturates even the most extreme inner voices with unconditional love. This wave essence is transpersonal in nature, helping us to transcend personal boundaries and deeply connect with others. The self is the source inspiring our paths of individuation and transcendence. Its compassionate nature reflects the Tao, the underlying unity that weaves together all things. As the Tao effortlessly flows wherever needed, the self gently unfurls its awareness to embrace all parts without resistance. From the perspective of the Tao, there is no real separation between parts, only temporary appearances of distance.
So before we get further along here, let's just take a quick moment to recognize that, in fact, connecting is something that seems to be complicated many times. Seems that we all have our own individual agenda, our own individual ideas and awareness, and we use that awareness to keep ourselves separate from each other. So that's not really the true awareness that we're looking for here. These self moments that we're looking for are moments of connectivity, moments of unity. And my motto has been to thy own self be true in service, recovery, and unity. And in service, recovery, and unity, and finding my own inner purpose, then I've been directed in a sense towards being able to become useful in a genuine and authentic way. And this is the way of connecting. And so the way of connecting is the way of undoing and unlearning the past individuality and separation for the ability to be able to connect at a greater level of understanding and comprehension with others in a peaceful, genuine, authentic way, which transcends the lower level neediness of our individual human forms and allows us to see the higher elevated awareness of our connectivity above all the confusion, above all the frustrations, above all the worries and difficulties of the world outside ourselves, where we can actually discover our true self and at the same time also see the reason why unity, service, and recovery are all part of that neediness at a higher level, to see and accept this simplified and easygoing sort of system that's gentle, peaceful, and loving. Let's return now to what Laura's saying in the audiobook. I'm going to finish up this last part of that.
As we align with the self's wave-like potential, we recognize our innate non-dual connection and belonging with all of existence. Parts begin to relax their protective stances as they feel their intrinsic interconnectedness within the greater whole. IFS, as a psychospiritual model with non-dual influences, allows for the integration of all members of our inner family, caring for the vulnerable while guided by wise self-energy. In loving what we reject in ourselves, we heal and enter flow state of the here and now with self as our guide. This is embodied enlightenment. In this book, I offer an expanded and experiential view of the self's wave-like potential, which I believe can ripple out to encompass a universal field of consciousness, the ground of all being that I refer to as the self. Though some may call it God, Source, Being, or Brahman, this work is not affiliated with any particular religion. Just as quantum waves appear particulate when observed, this boundless field of pure potentiality temporarily takes on the appearance of individual form. By consciously anchoring into the compassionate witnessing presence of ourself, we gain access to the wisdom and unconditional love of the universal self. This book invites you to follow and expand your awareness, tracing how it converges into each particle of consciousness. By rediscovering your interconnectedness with all of life, you can move from isolation into the joyful interpermeation of being. My belief is that by harmoniously blending parts work and duality, integral non-duality, we can transform our lives and consequently those around us. With tenderness and understanding, we can reconcile even our most extreme inner voices. This creates not only inner peace, but radiates outward into our relationships and communities. As we awaken to our true self, parts naturally let go of their conditioned identities and burdens, restoring their natural and helpful qualities. In this journey, I interweave personal, societal, and transcendent perspectives as a pathway to embody the profound truth of our shared humanity. As you read, keep in mind the words of Rumi: unlearning is the highest form of learning. There is nothing for you to gain from this book. It is an invitation to uncondition, unlearn, and unprogram. The parts of us that adopted beliefs need not learn anything new, for they are already one with the self, already perfect. All that is required is to realize that our burdens and beliefs do not define who we truly are. I sincerely hope the insights within these pages resonate with you and illuminate your unique journey. May this exploration into the depths of understanding guide you toward peaceful alignment, connection, and fulfillment. The words heal, whole, health, and holy share the same root word, yet our own awakening is neither sacred nor profane. It simply is awake. Our wholeness transcends such labels. It is pure, awakened presence. As you journey through this book, remember that you are the ultimate authority over your inner world. If something doesn't feel right, let it go. If an idea truly resonates, hold it gently. With an open heart, let us dive together into the transformative promise that awaits.
And so we shall. Before we go into what Rumi had to say in the idea of unlearning is the highest form of learning, let's take a moment to pause and to recognize our need for renewing ourselves, for strengthening ourselves, for awareness of true
To
self.
this brief
And
introduction
introduction
to a series of
meditation.
meditations inspired by the book Awaken to Love. This book offers a unique integration of nondual wisdom and internal family systems. The invitation here is to awaken both to our immanence and transcendence. So this is the embodied everyday experience of life and the boundless awareness. We will explore parts of ourselves that, just like waves in the ocean, are not separate from the ocean itself. This allows us to fully meet and heal these parts while resting in the peaceful knowing of our timeless essence. Let us begin this short practice by turning inward. Settle into a comfortable position and close your eyes if that feels comfortable, and take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let your body soften and settle. Feel the ground beneath you supporting you. Bring your attention to the breath. Notice its natural rhythm, the rise and fall of your chest, the sensation of air moving in and out. And there is really no need to change anything. Now, allow your awareness to expand to include the sensations of your body. Notice your feet on the floor, body on the chair, and notice any areas of tension or ease, contraction or spaciousness. And allow everything to simply be as it is. And as you rest here, notice how every sensation, sound, or thought that arises within your awareness. Like waves in the ocean, they come into being, linger for a moment, and dissolve back into their vastness. Can you sense the space in which all of this is happening? This space is always present, silently witnessing the ebb and flow of experience. So as you rest here, begin to notice if any particular part of yourself arises. Notice this part's thoughts, emotions, any physical sensations. Perhaps you are familiar with this part, familiar with its voice. Notice if there's any resistance to being with this part. Or maybe you can greet it from a sense of peace. See if it's possible to greet this part as if you were meeting an old friend. Silently say to it, "I see you. You are welcome here." Notice how this part, like a wave, is not separate from the ocean of awareness. It arises and is held in the vast space of your being and then dissolves. There's no need to change or fix it. Simply be with it in compassionate presence. Now ask yourself, who or what is noticing this part? Who or what is aware of the thoughts, feelings, and sensations? And turn your attention towards this presence of awareness itself. This still, unchanging space in which all experiences appear and disappear. And if you wish, you can pause this meditation here and take as long as you feel. But if you feel ready, begin to slowly bring your attention back to your body. Feel the sensation of your feet on the floor, your hands resting in your lap, and the natural rhythm of your breath. And as this practice comes to a close, take a moment to thank yourself and any parts of yourself for this time of inward exploration. and recognize the wholeness of your being, the parts you've met, the awareness that holds them, and the infinite connection between them. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Namaste.
And so as we return to our body awareness, let's take a look at what Rumi has probably meant by the idea of unlearning is the highest form of learning. And let's remember this awakening system of allowing ourselves to relax, be refreshed, and to rest in the peacefulness of the journey. So our journey is going to be challenging and interesting, and it's going to include lots of information that we have to assimilate and have to sort out through and have to make some decisions about in our life. What we're really going to is this place of unlearning is the highest form of learning, in which there is a choiceless awareness, no need for choice, in which there is a decision-making process that in fact is always going to be certain of itself and certain of its decisions. And this is a place within ourselves which already exists. However, it's not finite. And so we don't have an experience of it in the world. We have an experience of it only through the infinite. But the infinite has been, in a sense, distorted by the various different combinations of possibilities, of difficulties, of navigating the world and making a world outside of ourselves as though it was the real world. And it's very complicated. So let's take a look at what Rumi has probably meant by the idea of unlearning is the highest form of learning. I have actually recorded that, and if you'll bear with me for just a second, more than a second probably, but I'll get that out here so we can see together, listen together to what Rumi means by this idea of unlearning. Unlearning is the highest form of learning.
Rumi said, "Unlearning is the highest form of learning." This quote is related to the idea of letting go of limiting beliefs and old habits to make room for new ideas. Unlearning can be difficult because it's easier to stick with what's familiar and comfortable. New ideas can be scary, and it can be hard to change confirmation bias. However, being curious and courageous can help you unlearn and relearn. The process of unlearning is indeed an essential aspect of personal and spiritual growth. It requires letting go of deeply ingrained patterns, beliefs, and habits that no longer serve us, creating space for transformation and deeper understanding. Here are a few reflections and ideas related to these insights. Unlearning is liberation. Rumi's quote suggests that true learning often begins by dismantling the mental frameworks that limit us. These frameworks can include limiting beliefs. Ideas like "I'm not good enough" or "the world is against me" often stem from past experiences but no longer align with our potential. Cultural or social conditioning. Societal norms and inherited ideas about success, relationships, or identity can trap us in predefined roles. Letting go of these limitations allows us to approach life with openness, curiosity, and a fresh perspective. Facing the discomfort of unlearning. Unlearning is challenging because it disrupts the familiar, comfort zones, even if they are limiting, feel safe. It challenges identity. Our beliefs often form the foundation of who we think we are. Letting them go can feel like losing a part of ourselves. It confronts cognitive biases. Confirmation bias makes us favor information that supports our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are flawed. Courage and curiosity are key to navigating this discomfort. Curiosity is the gateway to growth. Curiosity opens the door to questioning old beliefs. It's the willingness to ask, "What if there's another way?" Or "Why do I believe this?" This non-judgmental inquiry can loosen the grip of long-held assumptions and reveal new possibilities. Courage to step into the unknown. It takes bravery to step into unfamiliar territory and embrace uncertainty. Practices like mindfulness and self-compassion can support this journey by helping us stay present with discomfort and approach change with kindness toward ourselves. Relearning through openness. Once we unlearn, we create space to relearn in alignment with our truest selves. This is a process of integrating new insights, values, and habits that foster growth and alignment with our purpose. Rumi's perspective reflects a deeper spiritual truth. Much of what we know is rooted in illusion or ego. By unlearning, we uncover the eternal, unconditioned awareness beneath the layers of acquired knowledge. By practicing curiosity, courage, and openness, we can honor Rumi's insight, transforming not only how we think but also how we engage with the world. This path of unlearning and relearning leads to deeper freedom, authenticity, and connection with life's infinite possibilities.
So one thing about my motto, to thine own self be true, in service, recovery, and unity, is that it allows me to realize that I have to take time to see what in fact I'm being shown that means. The source of this idea of to thine own self be true in service, recovery, and unity is not me. It's a source that was shown to me, and it was revealed to me in a way greater than where it comes from. The whole idea about where it comes from, in fact, is something that I sort of moved away from or out of into something far greater. This is the 12-step program is what I'm referring to. And it's the motto of the 12-step program. And it's printed on the back of the coins that people receive as they have more years of sobriety. On the back of each coin, it says, to thine own self be true. And then it shows a triangle. And in the triangle, it shows unity, service, and recovery. And these are the three aspects of the awareness of becoming true to thine own self, to find genuineness and authenticity within, and to be able to share that then with others, and to have to reach out a hand to those in need, then to see that in fact being of service and recovery is unifying. So as we go through this process, then we see also that what our need is to discover in greater detail a whole lot more about ourselves, in terms of what is our philosophical nature, our spiritual nature, have to do with our purpose. And our philosophical and spiritual concepts that we have developed over the course of thousands of years come down to the fact of that this one term, non-duality, which has been around for just about forever in recorded history, is something that we have not yet completely fully grasped. But today I wanted to talk about it in some detail because it's an important part of what this book is about. Laura introduces a concept called duality, which means, in fact, that there's not really a duality and there's not really a non-duality in terms of our experience. There's really a duality. There's a both and this process then is something that we'll become more aware of as we go through the book here. But today I just want to focus on what non-duality is, because many people are not really familiar with that term and how that we can go about using that term in such a way as that it makes sense to us in light of what this book is trying to bring across to us. And I have this recorded also, so I'll play this segment, this supplement also called Non-Duality. Non-duality for me was important as teacher and spiritual literature and working through issues that deal with existential questions. I believe that non-duality was something that sort of came to my rescue, helped me see beyond myself, the body that is, into an infinite reality and into even eternal reality. So non-duality was derived from a Sanskrit term, and it means not two. It's a philosophical and spiritual concept, and it's rooted in ancient, in Indian traditions, and also in Western world. And we'll get into more about that as we go on through the book. Non-duality asserts that the fundamental nature of reality is a unified and indivisible whole. It can't be divided. And where distinctions such as self and other, subject and object, or creator and creation are seen as, sometimes seen as illusory. Now, I want to just make note of this as our experience of this world in duality is real to us. And it's important to recognize that and be sensitive to the fact that everybody experiences their world as real. And so to say it's illusory means do that with caution when speaking with clients and with other people that may be uninformed about non-duality. Be patient, be relaxed, be calm, and realize that we can't undo duality just overnight. It takes a while to understand that non-duality is actually a useful and actually a uplifting sort of realization. So non-duality emphasizes the realization of one's true essence as an inseparable from the whole, as an absolute, as transcending all notions of duality. But simplified non-duality then, so non-duality meaning not two. The ancient philosophy describes existence as a single, interconnected, and whole, rather than as a collection of separate entities. It challenges a deeply ingrained belief, such as I am a body, such as I am my thoughts, such as I am separate from others, such as I'm separate from my creator. These beliefs often cause dissatisfaction, isolation, and a sense of incompleteness. Through inquiry, however, non-duality invites us to explore the boundaries of our identity. If I am a body, where do I truly begin or end? If I am my thoughts, who observes them, coming and going? I am separate. Now, how do I constantly interact with the world and with others? So non-duality reveals that our true essence is not the body or mind, but a witnessing presence that experiences everything. This understanding brings peace, hopefully, constantly dissolves fear, hopefully, fear of separation, that is, especially, and aligns us with the flow of existence. Non-duality is often described as a direct yet gentle path to enlightenment because it emphasizes the immediate recognition of our own true nature without a need to elaborate on rituals or beliefs. However, let me just clarify this. I believe that traditions, rituals, and beliefs are important to us. And so there again, just with caution, I'm telling you that non-duality eliminates most of the need for that. But when it eliminates the need for that, it's because the need for it is dissolved into a rich, peaceful, joyful, loving existence. So here are some of ideas about how non-duality facilitates a gradual and compassionate, gentle awakening. Inquiry. Non-duality invites self-inquiry, asking questions like who am I or what is aware of my thoughts. Instead of imposing answers, the inquiry gradually dissolves conditional ideas, allowing a direct recognition of the self as pure awareness. In other words, this is something that happens over the course of a period of time, usually years and not days, usually allowing ourselves to contemplate over the course of many weeks, perhaps, who am I? What's my purpose and these sort of things? And coming back to it again at another time. So the process is non-confrontational. It's meeting each speaker where they are at, and it's gently guiding them to notice what has always been present and always been true about their nature. When I say this process is meeting us, this process is doing for us, this process is guiding us, what I'm really saying is the process, in fact, is the reality The reality is what's guiding us. Reality can't be changed. Reality is permanently real. And the realization of that in a universe where there's constant change is an awakening process. It takes time. And there's no need for drastic change. Unlike pasts that require reunification or intense practices, non-duality encourages seekers to simply observe and rest in the experience of that as it is. Through subtle shifts in perception, we as a seeker begin to see the unity of the underlying of all experiences, integrating this awareness into a daily life naturally, gradually, peacefully. Embracing all that arises, non-duality does not reject the world or one's experiences. Instead, it teaches that everything, thoughts, emotions, and even suffering arises with the same undivided awareness. This approach creates a space for compassion and acceptance, making the path gentle and inclusive rather than austere or exclusive. Direct recognition beyond concepts. Enlightenment in non-duality is not seen as something to achieve, but is seen instead as something to realize of what has been always there. Non-duality has never changed. In other words, what is real has never changed. What is one has never changed. What is not two has never changed. So non-duality bypasses the intellectual understanding of dogma, guiding us as seekers to directly experience our own oneness with existence. This makes it a direct path as it avoids intermediaries and focuses on present moment awareness. Integration with daily life. Non-duality is not confined to mediation or to retreats. Gently transforms everyday moments into opportunities for realization by revealing the interconnectedness of all things. Over time, the seeker experiences less attachment to ego-driven narratives, fostering peace and clarity in every situation. Timeless yet gradual awakening. While realization can happen suddenly, the embodiment of non-duality awareness unfolds generally, gradually. People, in fact, read Eckhart Tolle's experience of awakening, and they get the idea that it all happened at once for some reason, because he did have a profound awakening, true. But he also spent years, many years and decades, refining what it is that he experienced into ways to describe the experience that he had of leaving the pain behind, of escaping from pain into the safety of this non-dual experience of presence. So the non-dual experience of presence ensures that the insights that would integrate harmoniously into our lives reduce the overwhelm and the disorientation gradually, peacefully, lovingly. Teachers often use stories, metaphors, or dialogues to introduce ideas slowly, creating a nurturing environment for growth. Non-duality is gentle because it doesn't demand that seekers become something else. It asks only that they notice that they are already there, that they already have what it is that they need. This compassionate invitation makes enlightenment feel less like a distinction and more like it's coming home to oneself. And so ask yourself, how can I learn about non-duality? How can I practice learning about non-duality over the course of time so it will be gentle, so I will find a loving, peaceful, and joyful awareness within myself of ease? Rupert Spira is a teacher of non-duality, and I recommend him because he has so many clips about non-duality that you can actually follow him from very beginner to intermediate and to advanced understanding about what non-duality is. You'll find him on YouTube. He shares all about non-duality. And in fact, I've included today links into a beginner's friendly series of videos by Rupert Spira, making it much easier. So here's an idea. If you want to learn about non-duality, you might have gone about doing it this way to start with a beginner-friendly topics, which I've provided some for you at the end of this supplement. Follow the guided meditations that deal with that particular topic of non-duality. Engage in question and answer sessions or attend to Rupert's question and answer sessions that he provides in his YouTube videos. Create a playlist for yourself. I don't think you probably need to start with that because I already supplied one. And watch the short segments of Rupert's teachings and allow yourself to find that you can reflect upon what's being said in these videos in between watching them. So you can take and integrate the ideas that are being shown to you in the beginner-friendly videos that I provided for you. Take notes if necessary, and then reflect on these things, because it will take some time to undo the confusion of what you thought you know before. What you thought you knew before about the reality of the world outside yourself was probably put together mostly by the structured ways of understanding reality in which we actually are complicating reality and making it difficult to understand. In this way of understanding reality through this awareness of non-duality, we're simplifying the ideas about how the world works and finding, in fact, that our experiences match with that simplification so that we are simplifying our own way of thinking. So what is awareness? Rupert says and tells us how we can understand what is awareness. The nature of happiness. Happiness, it turns out, is our sort of core being. Who am I? The essential question, the shortcut question of am I aware, is the way that he goes about answering that question. And you'll see that, in fact, if you listen to that one, that his question of am I aware is a very important question, because the answer always has to, of course, be yes. But because the answer is yes, then in fact we can see that there are many other things that we have told ourselves that we think that is true, which are actually not true, because they actually don't match up with I awareness. How to meditate in non-duality and the art of witnessing thoughts. What is non-duality and an introduction to non-duality? That's a good one, but I'm going to play a different one. I'm going to play one called Creation, a non-dual perspective, and I'm going to play that now. Now this is a little bit low in terms of the volume, and I didn't boost it. I didn't really think about that beforehand. So just turn up your volume to maximum and sit back and listen. And this is about 20 minutes altogether, but we're only going to listen to about 8.5 minutes or so. It's 21.5 minutes.
Hello, Rupert. My name's Tom. In first retreat to non-duality. So I have a question about non-duality. Does it have within its teachings a creation story? And I come from a Catholic background, so reading Genesis and saying, eating of the forbidden fruit, the original sin, the context of that, and a Messiah to follow, sin no more, and forgiveness and love, from that. Also, some of the channeled information talks about an error, E-E-R-R-O-R, an error occurring, and the need, some of the channeled information is to awaken to the fact of your true nature as a solution. So I'm so new to non-duality. Is there a story, a creation type story,
Yes.
of why we are separate beings?
Yes, it's called Mary and Jane.
Oh no! I'm all ears.
You know about Mary and Jane?
I do not.
You do not, okay. Who else here does not know about Mary and Jane?
I am the only one.
Okay, there are three of you. Okay, so just very, very briefly, Mary, I've told it already, this retreat, but very briefly, Mary falls asleep in Burlingame, and she dreams she's Jane on the streets of Paris, because within Mary's mind there lies all possible dreams. Everything that could possibly be dreamed lives within Mary's mind. But while she is awake, she doesn't have access to those dreams. So in order to realize, that is, make real, in order to realize that one of the dreams that lies in potential in her mind, she has to fall asleep. So Mary falls asleep, and in falling asleep, she is able to imagine a world within her own mind. So on this occasion, she imagines the streets of Paris. But she cannot see the streets of Paris directly, because the infinite cannot know the finite directly. So as she dreams the streets of Paris, she simultaneously localizes herself as one of the people on the streets of Paris. In other words, her own mind, which is a single, indivisible field of consciousness, albeit a limited one, divides itself into a subject and an object. A subject, Jane, on the streets of Paris. The object, the streets of Paris. So the subject and the object are co-created within Mary's mind. And what in reality is the activity of Mary's mind is perceived from Jane's point of view as an outside world made out of something other than mind, which Jane's colleagues called matter. So it appears.
So Jane is a dream character in Mary's mind, but Mary's sound asleep, and she's having a reality of Mary's existence or Jane's existence rather, in the reality outside of herself. And this is a metaphor, in a sense, for this fact of how we experience reality also. So in Rupert's telling of the story here, you might not recognize that what he's saying is that you have an infinite self, and your infinite self has made possible the dream of a finite reality in which you're experiencing yourself as a body. That's what he's really saying. I just want to interrupt that just for a moment here, so we can see that Rupert is introducing the idea about duality outside yourself and non-duality within yourself.
Appears from Jane's localized point of view that mind is what exists on the inside of her and matter is what exists on the outside of her. That's how it appears from Jane's limited, localized, and ultimately illusory point of view. Now, when Mary wakes up, she realizes, that there was no world. There was no separate mind. There was no separate self. There were no people. There were no objects. All there was the activity of my own mind. So that's the creation story, and it's an accurate and direct replica of the understanding we have here, namely that infinite consciousness, in this case, Mary's mind in the analogy is limited. In this case, infinite consciousness, being infinite, can only know its own being, because the infinite can only know the infinite. There's no room in the infinite for the finite, because if the finite existed within the infinite, then the finite would displace a part of the infinite's infiniteness, and it would then no longer be infinite. So there's no room for the finite in the infinite. So the infinite knows nothing of the finite. Infinite consciousness only knows its own being. That's why its nature is peace and joy and love, absence of other. However, within infinite consciousness lies all possible experiences, all possible realms, all possible worlds. It's a field of infinite potentiality, which is inherently without form. But in order to realize one of those forms, one of those worlds, consciousness must fall asleep to itself. It must forget itself. It must overlook itself. And that enables it not only to dream the world within its own mind, but to localize itself in its own world, in this case, not as one separate subject of experience, but as numerous separate subjects of experience. That's each of us.
So Rupert likes to use the word consciousness and awareness as if they're the same thing. I don't really like that too much, because it seems that we need something that is distinguishing, what is the completeness of non-duality. And I think that's a capital A, awareness. So awareness undivided, awareness without objects, awareness that is in no need of making decisions, of making choices, and awareness that simply is in the flow of all of reality, being all of reality, knowing all of reality, and sharing all of reality. And that's the consciousness at a higher level, which I'm calling awareness, capital A awareness. Capital A awareness, where there's no need for differences, and there's no need for change, and there's no need for resolving confusion or upsets or frustrations, where everything essentially is 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more peaceful than any experience that we've had as a human being. Back to Rupert.
We are the apparently separate selves, localized perspectives within infinite consciousness, made only of infinite consciousness, through whose agency, that is, through whose sense faculties, consciousness views what is in fact its own activity as an outside world. Now, from the perspective of each of us, from our limited localized perspectives, it seems that the outside world is made out of stuff other than ourselves, separate from ourselves, distinct from our minds, which we feel exist on the inside of ourselves. And the name we give to that stuff is, yes, matter. So from the limited and localized point of view of the separate subjects of experience that we seem to be, it seems that the world is made out of stuff other than mind, matter. Of course, when consciousness wakes up, so to speak, it realizes that the entire universe is its own activity, that all that is there is consciousness, is itself and its own activity. But its own activity appears as an outside world when viewed from the localized perspective of a separate subject of experience in that world.
So when Rupert speaks about this, he speaks about this in a way to introduce this topic to people who are novice, to people who don't understand anything about this just yet. And this is a reason why he uses some of these terms sort of interchangeably. In other videos I've listened to Rupert, and he's spoken about some much more precise distinctions about reality. And he, in fact, makes it clear that he sometimes has to use ways of describing things which later we transition away from that to some higher form of understanding, and a higher form of understanding, and a higher form of understanding. So a gentle awakening, that's what that is, a gentle awakening. And a gentle awakening is what we need, in fact, to be able to see how reality actually works with our own experience, because our own experience has been divided and been transformed into a body outside of ourselves, which we believe is our true self. Then in fact we find ourselves in great need of being shown a different reality, very sort of slowly to wake up to it, very sort of carefully and gently. We then are able to help each other to see this more profound truth, this more real truth, this more complete truth together.
Now, what is called sin in the Christian tradition, in the Vedantic tradition, is called ignorance. And ignorance in common parlance, ignorance means stupidity. In the Vedantic sense of the word, ignorance doesn't mean stupidity. It has no pejorative connotation. It means the ignoring of reality. Consciousness must ignore itself. Consciousness must fall asleep to itself in order to realize the world that lies in potential within it. And that is the original sin that they talk about in Christianity. It is the original forgetting or overlooking of the nature of reality. And as consciousness overlooks itself or ignores itself and localizes itself as a separate subject of experience, within its own dream, it loses touch with its own nature of happiness. And that is why the one thing that all separate selves truly want is happiness. They don't really want an object, a substance, an activity, a relationship. What they want is something which will bring their sense of separation to an end and reveal to them their original nature. In other words, although the separate self conceives of its search in terms of happiness or even enlightenment, all it really wants is to be divested of its sense of separation, and as such to be revealed as the infinite being that it truly is.
So we're going to stop there, but I want you to remember I'm giving this list here. It's in the supplement called Nonduality, and as you go to the bottom of that, you'll see all the links that I provided, and this one is the last of the list. And I suggest that you listen to the entire audio, the entire program, and all the other ones as well. If you really want to delve into what this book is awakening you into, which is love, then in fact you have to have experiences of taking the time to rest in this sympathetic nervous system sort of approach to understanding reality, which fight, flight, and freeze is not a part of it, in which fight, flight, and freeze is minimized and is calmed and is made peaceful, so that it begins to dissolve into a reality of peace, love, and joy. We have one more thing to encounter today, and that is to go to the last supplement that I've added today, for today. It's called A Journey of Self-Discovery. And this one is not recorded, so I'll read parts of it, and I'll challenge you to continue along in your journey of self-discovery towards the understanding of a higher self, or an inner peace and clarity, a clarity that begins with the understanding that love is something that's attainable, but only by a higher reasoning. We have to be able to escape from the dilemmas and the confusion of the forces of difficulty, of changes, of conflict, confusion, of resentments and bitterness and chaos. We have to transcend that. We have to find the courage and the curiosity to escape from that into the safety of a thinking system, of a process that allows us to see that we can recover what turns out to be memories of the truth, which turns out to be infinite patience and kindness and peacefulness and joy and love. So the journey of self-discovery is a journey of reconnecting with the peacefulness, with the whole essence within us, with the self. By engaging in practices that foster this connection, we unlock profound benefits that enrich our lives. And here are some of the transformable effects and specific practices to achieve. Inner peace and clarity. Inner peace and clarity comes about by mindful breathing and by sitting comfortably in a comfortable position, possibly listening to some guided meditations similar to the one that Lord provided for us. And we can find an inner clarity that's available to us only because of the stillness of the comfort of a meditation practice or a mindful breathing practice. It begins in a mindful breathing practice, that is. An exercise for expansion is given to us here, where we can see that we can use breathing to use some affirmations as well with that, and therefore to begin to gently awaken to a non-judgmental, peaceful awareness of our inner self. Emotional resilience, another thing that we need to learn about and then practice. Connecting with ourself provides a safer inner space to process emotions without being overwhelmed. This connection helps us to observe emotions without judgment, allowing them to flow naturally and to dissipate. Our past is full of difficulties and changes and confusion and so on and so forth that has to be deconstructed. During those emotional events, chemicals were dumped into our body, or made during that process, and then dumped into our body and sort of left there to sort of distort the body's awareness of itself, to distort it so that in fact the body becomes very complicated and confusing. When we try to deal with our reality, we don't realize the messages that are coming from the body or what the discomfort is all about. But that discomfort is based on what chemistry had been dumped into our body during these emotional events. So these emotional events have to be deconstructed in a sense. So we want to learn how to be observant without judgment, to look at our past, to look at our ego, to look at our confusion, to look at our frustrations, to look at them from a peaceful place, to watch them in a peaceful way so that we can heal from the confusion, the upsets, the frustration, and the chaos of the past. And I suggest you look into how to perform these exercises for this expansiveness, to visualize each thought or feeling as if it's floating in a cloud, and to imagine gently blowing that cloud further away with your breath. And after a few minutes, to observe if any patterns of recurring thoughts emerge without attaching to them. These are practices that you can learn more about. And as time goes on, we'll see in Laura's book that she had provided many of these same sorts of practices. And in fact, Laura tells me that she's working on a workbook sort of approach in which she'll have links also to guided meditations in which you'll be able to see that separately from the book. And I'm not sure, I think she said, I'm pretty sure she said that she's planning to provide that without charges. So she won't be writing that into a book only. She'll be also providing the meditations and many of the exercises separate from a book. But I think she said she's working on a workbook also. So I'm a little confused about exactly what she said, but she's not. And I'm sure that what she's working on will be of great value in the near future. By the way, I think you know about this. I mentioned it a couple of times in different ways. Laura has a Facebook group that she maintains, and you always can go to that Facebook group and present to Laura some questions or comments about her book, and she's happy to answer those things. She's very thorough, and she loves to interact with people that come to the group. It's called the non-dual IFS community. I suggest that you join and make use of the group, and don't hesitate to ask her questions about her book or about the things that we're learning together as we go through this 25-week course. Practicing also connecting to nature. It's been scientifically demonstrated that people that are aware of and take walks in nature and enjoy nature, that they're a lot more peaceful and that they're a lot more capable of enjoying their lives. So take and connect to nature, spend some time outdoors, observe the interconnectedness of the natural world with yourself, and allow yourself to experience it. Walking barefoot in the grass, sand, and soil is something that I learned something about in the past called earthing or grounding, in which case the extra electrons that are picked up through the natural surfaces of the earth, where electrons can be stored, are not insulated from our feet by our shoes, which isolate us from those extra electrons that we need to be connecting with the earth that we're part of. And so we become part of the whole if we can walk barefoot in the world outside of our homes, and outside of our shoes. Greater awareness and presence is an important thing that we can start to learn about in this process of self-discovery. The self exists in the present moment, and only in the present moment, actually. And when we tune into this awareness, we become fully engaged in life and experience its richness without distraction or anxiety. And I'm saying these things are without stress. In fact, this is exactly what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to escape from the confusion and the frustrations and the dilemmas and the complications of stress, fight, flight, and freeze, into the peacefulness and resting and digesting of this uncomplicated mindful state of being peaceful. Love and compassion, another exercise that we need to practice in order to see ourselves becoming more capable of living in our heart. Loving awareness meditations, sit quietly, close your eyes, picture yourself surrounded by a warm, glowing light of love. Gradually extend these feelings of love to others and imagine them also being surrounded by light. Begin your practices in such a way as you are recognizing what you want to do is you want to remain in your heart, sustaining in your heart this peacefulness and this joy and this love that only thrives in your heart, in which also then will begin to guide your mind towards a more sustainable peacefulness. So you can expand this loving awareness as you begin to practice these exercises for increasing this in your journey of self-discovery. Increase creativity and insight. Take a calm and centered, mindful approach to learning about creativity and learn about intuitive insights that emerge naturally in this more peaceful, creative process of practicing the journey of self-discovery. Some things that are suggested is journaling for insights, freedom from fear and attachment, also another important sort of exercise. Detach from your past, detach from your confusion, your upsets, your worries, your difficulties. Detach from that by putting into practice on a daily basis, perhaps several times a day, this self-discovery journey process in which you are performing some kind of rituals and exercises that bring you greater inner peace and help you to open and sustain the opening of your heart, sustain peacefully living within the openness of your heart. And that's actually it for today. Thank you for being here. Actually, I'm speaking right now to nobody because there was a problem with the recording. And so you've noticed that there's nobody interacting with me today. This is not what really happened in the session that we had together, but I had to re-record the session. And so I've provided for you that as an introduction to this book and this course based on Laura's book, Awaken to Love. And I hope you'll be here with me next week and continually through the weeks, 24 weeks to come. And I will include this introduction for everybody so you can see the value of what I put into the course so that you can, in fact, continue to learn from it. There's more to this also at the bottom of the introduction today. You'll see in the bottom of the email introduction today. That was the self-discovery that we just looked at, but you'll see also there's a link to the origins and history of consciousness. And so this is for the more advanced student. This is in 2 parts, and these are quite long, actually. And don't forget, in the non-dual awareness, that we take a look at what Rupert had provided for us in terms of what is non-duality. And don't forget the exercises in the self-discovery. All these at the end of the introduction, of the end of the email today. And that's it. We'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for being here with me, and I hope you'll return and be here for the next 24 weeks with me as well.